Okay, here we are once again on the scrolls. You know where we are. You know why we're here at the Southern High Rock Gate on the bench to do Freezy's little recap. If you don't want to watch a talking video, I understand. All good. I'll catch you in the next one. If you do want to watch one, all good. If you're here to just try and invalidate what I say because you think you're a 1v triple X and you're better than me in some way, just fuck off. I don't care what you say. My voice might sound a bit weird because I'm ill. Um, when I've made videos like this in the past, people have asked me not to slam the devs and give constructive criticism. So that's what we're going to do. And we're going to jump straight into that now. After playing this game for an extensive period of time, when I last made a video like this, I hadn't played the game for an extensive period of time. And the thing that was in my sight straight away was the money myth. Because, of course, it is just ridiculous. Constructive criticism, what I would change, right, if I was a dev, right, a lot of people say they've done PvP, so they don't know these things, right, so I'm happy to tell you. Um, Minor timidity is not a downside, especially on your back bar, to something being broken like this, with permanent buffs like Major Force being available. That should have been on the front bar. Major timidity should have been on the back bar. If I was a dev, I would change Major Force to Minor Force, no matter who said I've paid money for that. I wouldn't care. That's too broken. It's ruining this game. People are just getting one tap left, right, and center. I would change that to Minor Force, and I would never, not one time for any reason ever in future, give people Major Force as a permanent buff ever again. Um, there are sets that give Major Force now, so it wouldn't be a big problem to change that, I believe, anyway. So I spoke to some other people and they had the same opinion as me, as exact same mindset as me, actually, when we spoke about this. And Zos always does do this. We're going to pick out Major Force and Minor Vitality just for the video for an example. Um, most people know what I'm now going to do. There will be someone, of course, that say, I use that, but majority of people aren't ever going to use this set in PvP ever again, or the perfected version, because you can get Major Force permanently on your front bar with the monomyth. Um, Same as, but not as bad. Just for example, in the video, I'm sure there's other things as well, but minor vitality coming from this is now just completely worthless because if you're a Zergy type healer, and unless you just wanted to give people extra armor, I guess, um, there'd be no point in using this. Of course, people will still use this in ball groups if people have got treaders on, and they'll probably use it in PvE. But apart from that, if you could pick up both these sets and throw them high enough to chuck them on top of the other 400 set pile, completely worthless on this game, you'd have a strong arm. My other bone to pick with this is it does look like the way the game is set up right now that they were trying to encourage ramp slapping, which I absolutely detest. You know this. But the reason I say that is because they put Minor Berserk on here and they put Savagery and Prophecy on Merciless Resolve or Speculo. And it looked like they tried to free up the space that most people would put out on their front bar with Camo Hunter so that you could slot Eviscerate, drop your health, put on your shield with contingency, get minor force, get major force from the monomyth, get 2k extra damage on your next attack, and 33% extra damage from eviscerate while putting on a shield with major vitality and not dying while your health is low. I don't like that. I don't think I'll ever forgive them for that. And that is speculation, of course, but that's what it looks like to me, right? So why do I keep complaining about vitality? Why do I keep constantly going on about vitality? Because that has ruined this game. It's made it so stale and boring. Truly the worst version of this game that I have ever played. And for me to explain this to you, some people might get upset, but I'm not personally picking out those people to attack them. I'm just using it to tell you the reality of the situation. And that is back in the day, the good old days of ESO, a lot of information was seen as secret or hidden knowledge. It wasn't really hidden. It was sort of hidden in plain sight because people didn't used to deep dive the sets back then. But of course, now we have people that want to stack views to generate money from videos on YouTube. So, back in that time, in the good old days, that knowledge was sort of kept between certain people because they wanted to be the awkward players. Like, they wanted to be the players that were perceived as good, you know. But that wasn't annoying because there was only a few people that had that knowledge of like minor vitality being on certain skills, minor vitality coming from certain sets, major vitality coming from certain healing ults, major vitality coming from certain sets. But now you fast forward back to this time where we are now. Everyone has minor vitality on their back bar. They can get major vitality at the touch of a button, while running, 50k health with a huge fucking shield, sword and board passives, um, Rune, Netch, Purify, Warden Charm. Why I'm picking out certain skills there in particular. Let's say Rune, right? Rune will give you back resources if you pick Mag. Uh, Say you picked Mag on Rune, right? So you're constantly getting Mag back for standing in your Rune. Then you're constantly getting stand back for having that on your Netch. And then the worst addition to this game, in my opinion, ever. Warden Charm, a giant lingering AoE that you don't even have to look in someone's general direction to use. And if by some miracle that you manage to miss this giant fucking ridiculous AoE, um, or if someone dodge rolls it or uses an immovable, you get resources back for it. And then obviously, like I say, you pair that with Major Minor Vitality and Sword and Board passives, and you've just got the most cringy and boring, stale version of this game that I have ever seen. Truly, to date, it's horrible. So you pair that with people taking every single buff in the game without even PvP in one time. We are talking builds that exist with zero downsides, running at the speed of light, standing in the wide open, tanking 20, 30 players, infinitely sustaining while being able to two-tap people. Really, truly, the worst version of this game I have ever played. I've never seen it in a worse state, truly, to date. Never, not one time. Truly cancer. And this is a message for Zos if someone happens to see this. These do you think these people are looking at this map and thinking, let me take part in the core, the soul, the essence of ESO, and throw some sets on, do some theory crafting, which of course doesn't exist anymore because of things like CMX. But do you think that they're looking at the map doing that? No. Do you think they're looking at the map thinking, oh, I'll play a fun, wacky vampire ulti build? No. Do you think they're looking at the map thinking, oh, until it gets a bit more fair, what Freezy would do, chuck a couple of new sets on Werewolf, and try and fight outnumbered or something? No. What they are doing, they're looking at this map and they're thinking, oh, let me just put on this fucking build that has no downsides so I can just never fucking die. And then that's still not enough. That's not enough for these people. They are then looking on the bench and equipping a build that they're using set on that is doing things on the game that's not meant to be doing. And then they are pairing it, again with knowledge that I don't have, pairing it with sets like this that have always caused problems on this game and made people think that other people are cheating when they're not. And they're pairing these two sets together and somehow exploiting glitching the bench to um, get the effects of these sets on their build that they can probably wear two light sets on that has no downside whatsoever. They can wear two sets and still be tanky. We are just literally in the most ridiculous version of this game. But is that enough? No, that's still not enough. They're going to have their friend do that with them and scry buff each other and just be cancer, just to make sure that they cannot die at any point. And then they're going to have their friend with them that's going to be using Warden Charm and Russian Agony to exploit pill, because for some reason you can't break free sometimes, even if you got stam. I don't know what it is, but I've got multiple clips of that happening. And then they're going to have their friend, just to quadruply make sure, they're going to have their friend with them on one of those ridiculous broken crushing shock builds that just instant one shot anything at range. Or they're going to have people on the keep walls. I've got a clip of this somewhere. I can't be asked to find it right now because it's not labeled. But I've got a clip of it somewhere. They got people on the keep walls. There was like 10, 11 people all on those cloak overload gank builds. So even if you could survive it, there'd be two or three of them doing it. So you couldn't siege the keep. You've got even good players on the game that can't get out of the spawn sometimes. You just can't do anything. It happened this morning, just now. They've only just got out. And that was the time. It's now 3 o'clock. The DC and EP haven't been able to get out because that is what they are fighting right now on this game. It's truly sad, sorry state of affairs has happened to the Skulls. Really, truly, it is that bad. It's terrible. We've got people exploiting. In mid-year, we had a guy, right, and he wanted his friend to keep for the last few days of mid-year, right? So he was if say DC pushed out to here, right, he would then go to this keep, cheat, exploit, whatever you want to call it, and get on the very top of the keep, the very top, the inaccessible area, and he would sit there and siege the keep wall all day. And the only way we could get his name, we couldn't even see his nameplate. The only way we could get his name is when he messed up and put a cold fire down, and when he was shooting that at the wall, people went and stood underneath it, so his name would come up. And of course, he had a fucking stupid name with symbols, accents, letter, all on the letters of his name, and that annoys me as well. Why are we letting people have these names? Because it's always these people, conveniently, it's always these people in particular that are doing things that you would have to report them for. Do you see what I'm saying? Um, what spurs me on to make videos like this and say these things? I'm going to go and check if other people are saying these things, because if they aren't, then I haven't been watching a lot of people's videos, to be honest, at all on this game. But I'm going to go watch some and see if they're saying the same things as me, because if they aren't, that should give you a clear indication of the direction this game is going. Um, but what spurs me on is, you know, when these people come here and call me bad, they try and talk over me, they try and invalidate everything I say, and they seem to think, because they're one of these people that think they're the best players on the game. Clearly, you can see by the way they talk. Um, they think they're the best players on this game, and they think my complaints aren't valid and my opinions are irrelevant. But of course, I know, and you see me laugh and these people laugh, right? But the reason why is because I know, and you should know yourself if you, like me, buy the DLCs, which I didn't want to do, by the way. But if you pay for ESO Plus and the seasons and stuff, it doesn't matter what your skill level is or what they believe your skill level to be. Your opinion matters, and your complaints should be heard. I worked it out the other day when I auto renewed my ESO Plus. I can't remember what it is a month, but a year it's £107 at 88p. I worked that out, and for that, I don't expect miracles, right? I don't give a shit about the crowns because I never get Apex mounts and that far. I got the worst luck, right? So I stopped caring about crowns years and years ago. And you think I've played across 3 servers and spent quite a bit of money on this game. I've never had an Apex mount. That's why I don't care about the crowns. Um, the only other one I did get actually was from a Twitch drop from a free crate. That's the only one I've ever had, like, unless I've bought it with Endeavors, you know what I mean? But I mean, from crates, that's the only one I've ever had. That's why I don't care about crowns. I don't care about the craft bag. I only pay for ESO Plus because I want to support the game, right? And I don't expect miracles to happen for that little bit of money that I pay. I don't expect mountains to be moved. But I do expect if there's sets on the game that are doing things that they shouldn't be doing, maybe just disable them. If the bench, wizard wardrobe, and dressing room are enabling people to glitch, the effects of two builds onto one, disable them. If people are having silly names and constantly causing problems on the game, scripting, exploiting, just generally being retards, ban them and then make it so that maybe so like this. Maybe when you click on their name, like I can't click on this guy's name, right? He's on my alliance. I can't click on his name. But maybe when you click on, make it so when you click, it comes up like this and it just says report. So we don't have to type silly accents and fucking symbols that we don't know how to type. If you're going to let them keep the names, make it so we can click on them and press report, right? So we don't have to type them in. I don't think that's unreasonable to say these things. I don't expect, I didn't say about the guy sieging on top of the keep because I don't expect that to be sorted overnight, But I think if there's things like this happening on the game, you just disable them, even with the bench, let them do it in PVE. Just take the bench out of Cyrodiil. I wouldn't care. I wouldn't give a flying fuck. I wouldn't mind requeuing if I had to. I wouldn't care if it stopped people exploiting. And they could even make it so, yeah, like if they try and exploit the bench in PvE, but then they click Cyrodiil, just make Cyrodiil have an invisible bench, so that when you click it to join the queue, that immediately reapplies your build, so you can't use an exploited build in Cyrodiil. It's getting boring. It's getting stale. The builds are bad enough anyway. Even without doing that, the builds are ridiculous and a complete joke anyway. I can't believe the devs had let these builds exist. But if you see it from their side, maybe they did so that the less experienced players would play them. Maybe they did it in the hope of that, but that hasn't happened. That has not happened, and so these builds need to be given a downside. Um, no matter what it is. Maybe you take the subclass skill combinations and say, right, if you're having all this crit from Animal Companion and Assassin, you're now going to get a drawback in resistance, or you're going to get a drawback in um, sustain or something, anything. It doesn't matter what it is. If you're running that fast, you're being that tanky and you're having that damage, you're not sustaining it. If you're running that fast, having that sustain and having that damage output, then you're not having any resistance. There needs to be downsides. And before someone says, oh, these people worked on these builds for hours, I don't care. And I'm sure they don't care either. And if a dev came in and said, if I made a build and the devs had to come in and give it a downside, I'd take that as a compliment. And I'm sure these people didn't want to ruin the game intentionally, right? Um, Surely. So that shouldn't matter too much, should it? So I'm going to leave that there because I've been waffling on for a bit now. Um, I've said pretty much most of what I want to say anyway. So I'll leave that with you and I'll catch you in the next one.
Bye bye!